Hey y'all, welcome to Two Sisters in a Book podcast. I'm Carolyn, the baby sister and the hopeless romantic.
Hey, I'm Leslie, the oldest.
This is where we talk about fantasy books and take a close look into those wonderful worlds that are created for our beautiful reading pleasure. We are currently diving into the Empyrean series, starting with Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. This episode will be covering chapters 9 through 16. Lots of information to go through. Big summary. So excited. There's so much information. um, Something to keep in mind is that this podcast is R-rated. We do look forward to hearing your input and comments. Any theories or questions you have had while reading this series, don't be shy about leaving those. We would love to hear from you.
Also, just a reminder that we have obviously all read the entire series, so there will be spoilers from all the books, although we will try to stay focused more on the first book as of right now. But there will be spoilers for the rest of the series, so just keep that in mind. If you don't like spoilers, then come back and listen to us when you're done. Otherwise, enjoy.
Yep. All right, so we assume that if you are still here, you either don't mind spoilers or you have read all the way through Onyx Storm. So let's kick off this summary. Chapter 9.
I will not die today. Violet Sorrengail's personal addendum to the Book of Brennan.
Zayden walks into the ring like a baller, y'all. I mean, no weapons at all, nothing but his fabulous body. Absolutely sure that she's about to get her ass handed to her, if not worse. She waits for him to come at her. Dane, trying to pop in with his inane comments, tried to stop it, but like a runaway train, there just ain't no stopping that. Basically, Zayden shuts that shit down. Now, trying her best just happens to not be good enough as he continuously strips her of her weapons, basically showing her how bad she is and how much she has to learn. In the process, giving her the nickname of Violence, which she is not very happy about.
Mm.
However, giving her several hand-to-hand tips at the same time. Dane is very relieved when it finally ends and they're finished, but Zayden just can't resist giving him that last little jab. Next, we find Violet in Dane's room after she's snuck in, telling him that if Zayden really wanted to kill her, he's had plenty of chances at this point. Dane's still overly worried about Zayden killing her that he goes to Colonel Markham, which seems to really piss Violet off, as this pretty much tells her that he just doesn't believe in her, making it clear what actually happens at Threshing, and in fact that he won't be able to help her. He will in fact have to sit back and watch her as others try to take her out. His emphatic pleading, however, does persuade her to at least think about leaving and going to the Scribe Quadrant. Chapter 10.
Don't underestimate the challenge of the gauntlet, Mira. It's designed to test your balance, strength, and agility. The times don't matter for shit, only that you make it to the top. Reach for the ropes when you have to. Coming in last is better than coming in dead. Page 46 of the Book of Brennan.
Violet finds herself with the other first years in her squad, looking at the gauntlet that they have to complete to be presented to the dragons. After all, on presentation day, it's pass or die. She hears Orly talk about how her father created obstacle courses for her whole life in preparation for this, and y'all, she is so excited. Violet seems to think she's a little bit crazy for this, but she rolls with it. They have 1 hour of practice for their squad this day and the next 2 weeks before they have to complete it on presentation day. Sawyer goes first, showing all how it's supposed to be done, because remember, he's a repeat from the year before. Pryor goes next, then Rhiannon, then Tannen, then Riddick, then Violet, then Orly, then Luca. As she goes through, she begins to recite facts about dragon breeds to keep herself calm. She gets mostly through and she hears Orly scream. When she looks up, she watches in horror as Orly falls down the cliff. Back in morning formation, listening to the death roll hits Violet hard as she now knows a lot of the names that are called. With this gauntlet practice the day before, the list is long. The next night, she decides to burn Orly's things as her parents have decided to let the school take care of it. Dane asks if he should go with her, and we find out that Violet could not complete the final chimney formation. After burning her things, she sits in the courtyard in the shadows. She sees Zayden, Garrick, and Bodhi walk in. As she tries to figure out where they were, she sees Xaden stop mid-step and knows that she's there. He ushers his companions on, waiting for them to disappear into the barracks. Violet comes out of the shadows, making it clear that she was in fact not trying to hide. She does not ask any questions and in fact demands to know if he will in fact kill her. When he replies that he's just not quite decided yet, she gets even more annoyed. Then Xaden asks her what she's doing out past curfew. She admits that she is in fact considering running away. Then asks what exactly her chances are of making it through this. After some conversation, Xaden finally tells her that she has everything she needs to pass the gauntlet, telling her that the right way is not always the only way. Chapter 11.
It is a grave offense against Malik to keep belongings of a dead loved one. They belong in the beyond with the god of death and the departed. In the absence of a proper temple, any fire will do. He who does not burn for Malik will be burned by Malik. Major Worley's Guide to Appeasing the Gods, 2nd edition.
They're all practicing the gauntlet, and Violet still cannot complete the chimney. Presentation day is tomorrow, and she is desperate to finish. Hiding in the scribe's quadrant is kind of starting to look like a great option. But what bothers her with that is that she would never know if she could in fact have made it if she does leave. Presentation day is finally here. They all head to the gauntlet. As they're walking to complete the gauntlet for the final time, Dane tries to get her to change her mind once again. When she refuses, yet again, he says he doesn't know if he can watch, to which she replies, then close your eyes. An hour later, she's making her way through the gauntlet. She manages to use the rope to get up the chimney. On the final challenge of the ramp, one that she has never actually been able to practice, she charges up the ramp and jumps, using her dagger to get the leverage she needed to make it over the gap. When she makes it, Amber Mavis calls her out as a cheater. After proving she did not in fact cheat by using the Codex rules against her, it's decided that she did in fact make it. Chapter 12.
Presentation day is unlike any other. The air is ripe with possibilities, and possibly the stench of sulfur from a dragon who has been offended. Never look a red in the eye. Never back down from a green. If you show trepidation to a brown, well, just don't. Colonel Kaori's Field Guide to Dragonkind.
169 have made it through. They're all sent in a line 7 feet apart to walk by each dragon willing to bond. This way, the dragons can assess them all. They hear from Luca that there is a feather tail at the end of the line of dragons, which is, well, unheard of. They're all told to talk to each other and stay at least 7 feet apart in case, well, the dragons finds them a little unworthy and, roast them. Keeping Rhiannon from being tense, she starts talking about her sister and the baby. They make it to the end. They see a small golden dragon, the Feathertail. They turn around to walk back. One decides that Prior just doesn't quite make the cut. He gets roasted first. A couple of greens decide that Violet smells just a little too familiar and come to investigate. She remembers that she is actually wearing the dragon scale vest that Mira gave her. She tells this to the dragons. That seems to make sense to them, so they get back in line. Then Luca gets roasted as well after continually mocking the dragons. Yeah, I don't blame him. Chapter 13.
There is nothing quite as humbling or as awe-inspiring as witnessing threshing, for those who live through it anyway. Colonel Kaori's Field Guide to Dragonkind.
It's October 1st, which means threshing is here. Everyone's nervous as they enter the forest. Professor Kaori tells them all to listen with their instincts. If a dragon has chosen them, they will feel the pull, as well as stay on their own, as they are more likely to bond that way than if they go in groups. As Jack Barlow starts making slicing motions across his neck while looking at her, Violet pretty much decides to just stay away from him. They all separate as they walk into the forest. She's come across every color dragon at this point, and none has connected with her. She's decided to climb a tree to see the entire valley. She then sees a flash in a small clearing, figuring it's the little golden dragon. When she climbs down, she hears a group with Jack Barlow, Tynan, and Orin talking about going after the golden dragon to kill it. She can't let this happen, so she goes around them to shoo off the golden dragon before they can kill it. She gets to it before the group, but does not quite manage to make it fly off before the group reaches them. Realizing that the dragon is defenseless, she stays to fight off the group and protect it. They start to come at her when Xaden's voice suddenly stops everyone in their tracks. They look over, and they do in fact see Xaden with his navy blue dagger tail. The Gale. Chapter 14.
In the 6 centuries of recorded history of dragon and rider, there have been hundreds of known cases where a dragon simply cannot emotionally recover from the loss of their bonded rider. This happens when the bond is particularly strong, and in 3 documented cases has even caused the untimely death of a dragon. Navarre, an unedited history by Colonel Louis Markham.
Violet is filled with hope until she realizes that by the rules of the Codex, there is absolutely nothing he can do. Realizing this, Violet turns to the Golden to once more implore it to take off. When it doesn't, she figures it just can't fly. So she has to turn around and stay and defend them. Especially once she sees that it also doesn't have any claws, but in fact has paws instead. The group consisting of Jack Barlow, Tynan, and Orin attack. Violet throws one of her daggers and it lands in Jack's shoulder of his sword arm. Then one at Tynan, which hits him in his thigh. Orin reaches Violet first, but she ducks, avoiding him and slicing his ribs. Jack runs away, shouting for them to kill her as they both attack. Orin almost gets the better of her, if not for Xaden's warning, but the golden dragon snapping its teeth at him. Violet manages to knock him out with the butt of her dagger. When she faces Tynan, her dagger, however, slips from her bloody fingers, and she sees Xaden move just the slightest bit, like he just might intervene to save her. Suddenly, a huge gust of wind slams into her back and almost topples her over. She looks up to see Tynan gaping at something behind her with his head as far back as it will go as he looks up at something. Violet looks back over her shoulder to see the largest battle-scarred black dragon she has ever seen standing over the little golden one. It growls low in its chest, and she hears the words in her head telling her to step aside, Silver One. This throws her off for a second until she realizes it's him. The dragon is speaking to her. She moves over, and the black dragon incinerates Tynan on the spot. He advises her also to kill Orin at her feet, but deciding she just can't kill a defenseless person, no matter the reason. She leaves him alive. He then tells her to get on his back, making her realize that, shocking, he's actually chosen her. Then remembers the golden one and says she can't quite possibly leave it. The golden takes that moment to launch into the sky and fly away. Struggling, she manages to slowly get on his back. He launches into the sky and she manages to hold on for just a few seconds, just long enough for him to tell her his full name. But she should in fact just call him Terran, as she probably won't remember the whole thing. Then she loses her grip and goes into a free fall off his back. Chapter 15.
Just because you survived crushing doesn't mean you'll survive the ride to the flight field. Being chosen isn't the only test, and if you can't hold your seat, then you'll fly straight into the ground. Page 50, the Book of Brennan.
Violet free falls for a couple of heartbeats, and then she feels something grab her around her chest and her waist. She looks down and realizes he's caught her, instead of letting her fall to her death, informing her that she is in fact making them look bad and she should stop. He flings her up into the air and flies underneath her to place her back on his back. When Terran realizes that she's not going to be able to stay on, he uses his power to hold her legs in place. Then warns her that they will have to put on a show and also locks her hands in place. This show consists of flying straight up and then coming straight back down, twisting, turning, and rolling all around, in which Violet finds equal amounts of exhilarating and terrifying. After he feels they've made up their point, they head to the field with the other newly bonded dragons and riders. She sees the golden one also waiting. They go in and land, and the golden one lands beside them. Violet finds a way to slide as gently as she possibly can off his back. She turns to the golden and tells it that she is glad that it has survived, but maybe next time should just fly away when someone tells it to. All of a sudden, she hears another softer female voice in her head, telling her that maybe she was saving her. She walks over to the scroll keeper to record her names as well as her dragons and sees her mother, General Sorengale. General Melgren is with her. all just as shocked to see Taryn with her. Commandant Panchek almost says the name when Lilith cuts him off, saying that Violet needs to say it first. The Scroll Keeper asks Violet who her dragon is, and she says his full name. She records this, and then the Golden Dragon also says her name, urging her to also tell the Scroll Keeper. She goes pale and reluctantly tells the Scroll Keeper and Darna as well, and that both dragons are in fact hers. This sends everything into chaos.
Ooh.
Chapter 16.
Though this officer considers himself to be an expert Though this officer considers himself to be an expert on all matters dragonkind, there is a great deal that we don't know about the way dragons govern themselves. There is a clear hierarchy among the most powerful, and deference is paid to elders. But I have not been able to discern how it is they make laws for themselves, or at what point a dragon decided to bond only one rider, rather than go for the better odds with two. Colonel Kaori's Field Guide to Dragonkind.
Generals are arguing about whether to allow Violet to have two dragons bonded to her. Violet is being patched up by Kaori. Jack Barlow confronts her for hurting him as she mocks him for running away like the coward he is. Kaori also tells Jack to back the hell off before Taryn decides to eat him alive. Then all the other dragons from the Empyrean show up to make a decision on this. When Taryn and Andona go to meet up with the dragons, he tells her to stay with the wing leader. Dane comes over, very worried and panicked, and tells her to choose the little golden one because it's safer for her, as Taryn will be the one to go into battle. Dane also tells her that she is in twice as much danger because Sigale and Tarn are mates. Violet relays all the details of what happened to Dane when he asks. He then accuses Xaden of manipulating Threshing. Xaden shows up and replies that he did not, in fact, and it's as much of an inconvenience to him as it is to her. After which, Xaden asks Dane point blank if he would have bent the rules to save her. Dane admits that he would not have. When Dane walks off, Xaden makes sure that Violet understands that when it comes to the other unbonded first years, she is number one on their list. She's more at risk from them than ever before, since they'll want to kill her for her dragon. Suddenly, the dragons come back over, and it's decided that both bonds will stay. All the newly bonded first years line up in front of their dragons and are given the coveted relic. Dane comes back over and tries to make up, all excited about the two bonds and her relic. He grabs her, kisses her, exactly what Violet's been waiting for this whole time, and she feels nothing. Dun dun dun! That was a lot.
Yeah, but it is, but it's like it all kind of wraps up because it's all one related
It
to
does.
one. So
It does.
So I love how chapter 9, he is the first time you hear him call her violence, because that's definitely a theme throughout the entire series.
Yep.
And the fact that she defies him from the very beginning. Even Imogen gasps, like when she's just like, "Bleh, fuck you, I don't care. Leave me the fuck alone." Like, no, nobody else ever talks to him like that. I think it's kind of hilarious.
She definitely does not bow down to him. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's
No, she
almost
doesn't.
like threatening her life is what like wakes her up and really gives her that like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like she woke up and chose violence today.
Pretty much. It fits her. So like when you meet her in the beginning of the book though, like if someone would tell you within the first say 2 chapters that her nickname would be Violence throughout the entire series, you'd be like, no, I don't see it.
I'm gonna disagree just a little bit because I think she's always had like that iron will in her, because from the very beginning, like she's always been dealing with pain, so she has that will to just say, "Fuck it, I just gotta keep going and not gonna stop." But yeah, I could see the violence with the no kill shots and like just trying to injure people. Yeah, but
Oh, I'm not saying that her nickname doesn't make sense. I'm saying just by seeing her in the first 2 chapters, like
well, because
you
she's still
don't
a
really.
scribe.
I know that's what I'm saying. Like you look at the first 2 chapters and you're like, really?
Yeah.
But that actually getting to this point, like you see how much violence almost opens her up and just lets her be who she was, in fact, I think, meant to be the whole time. But I
Yeah,
don't know.
I agree. I have a question for you.
What?
So when they're talking about the dragons and she's in Dane's room and she asks him or asks Dane, um, if Sigel would have bonded her if Xaden would betray Navarre. And he's like, well, I used to think so, but then I bonded
Mm.
with Kath and blah, blah, blah. So that scene right there,
Uh-huh.
do you, obviously we know where Dane ends up in Iron Flame,
Yeah.
which side he chooses. But does Dane decide that? Because do you think Kath would have ended up on the side of the Imperium who thinks they shouldn't interfere?
I don't know. It's hard when you get to that point, it's hard to separate Dragon from the Rider because they become one. It does make me wonder though, because I mean, Kate chose Dane, and knowing who Dane is at heart, I don't know. I mean,
Because the only reason I asked that is because when that scene where she has Taryn show all the dragons her
hmm
memory and stuff to try to get them to go to Orisha, some of them do and some of them don't. But you really don't know but you don't really hear if Kath shows him the memory. Because technically Dane's already seen it. Because she showed it to him down in the cell. So he's already seen it from her, but you don't know if Kath would have told. I just it was kind of one of those curious things when that scene was going on that I thought about.
I don't know. It's like you don't really meet Kate a lot, so it's hard to say what kind of dragon he really is.
True. Yeah, you don't really hear much about.
Like we've never had a scene with Kate and Dane's point of view, so I kind of hope eventually we do, especially now that he's actually has a brain in his head. He's decided to show it the right side.
Maybe.
Although I will say I've had this thought with Dane being who he is at heart,
Mhm.
I could see him flipping back to Navarian. Not, I don't mean flipping back and saying screw them, screw Erasure. Like I don't mean by that. I mean, okay, kind of like the Hunger Games. I know you didn't read the book, but you did watch the movies,
Mhm.
right? So, I'm spacing on his name, but her friend, the boy she grew up with.
Yeah, I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now, but yeah, I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Sorry guys, I'm spacing on his name, and I'm sure other people are screaming at me right now, and I'll be screaming it at myself later when I'm listening to this and I remember his name. But he kind of did the same thing because he was against them the whole time, and then he kind of flipped. But then when they went back to the last quadrant, like I'm not really explaining this very well, but I can almost see him going back because he values rules and the codex so much that I can't sit here and tell you that I can see how it would happen. I can just see it happening at some point. I don't know.
I don't think so, just because of the foreshadowing with Sloane. I don't see it with the marked one and all that stuff. I don't see him flipping because I think once he decides on something, because honestly, he was doing what he was doing because he didn't know the whole story. He didn't know about the Venom. He didn't know about the Wyvern.
No.
His dad never told him that stuff. So once he saw the memories of Violet, he kind of went, "Oh crap! I'd rather fight on the better side." So he did, and maybe that was all Violet. I don't know, but I don't
What
see him flipping back.
what flipped him was seeing Violet tortured.
And then seeing her memories.
But he's still going and seeing her tortured the first time. He still didn't do anything the first time. So
That's
I don't
that's
know.
what I'm saying. It wasn't about her being tortured, although it was definitely worse the second time than the first time. But no, it was when she showed him the memories and showing him that they've been lied to the whole time about who the real enemy is. That's when he flipped. So
I don't know.
it wasn't that, but My other question for you about Dane.
Mm-hmm.
I know we're tired of talking about Dane, but he's
He's
kind of big
kind
in
of an
this.
integral part.
He's kind of in this thing. So, do you think that Dane thinks that she's a liability, but just shows it in a more subtle way, like more about her safety rather than?
I think he does, but he doesn't. I think he does, but I think he thinks it subconsciously. Like he sees her as a liability, but he shies away from that because of his feelings towards her.
Right.
So he doesn't think of it in his brain as she's a liability. He just doesn't think she can do it. Like he constantly, throughout this entire book and most of the second, he constantly underestimates her. Even when she's gotten as far as she has. There is never one point in this, especially in this book, where he's like, yeah, why did you did it? Great job. It's, well, you made it past that, but you're not going to make it past the next one. So, go to the quadrant. Like, there's one moment where he's just like, good job, Violet. I think that's what gets me about Dane the most. Like,
I
there's
mean, he does.
never a moment.
He kind of does when when she gets both dragons. Like, oh my god, I can't believe it! It's so awesome. And then gets her, and then yeah, doesn't.
He's excited that she has dragons and a relic. I don't think he's excited about her.
Sure.
Just proven later. But that's okay. I think it's interesting that it's the first time we see Xaden is actually not trying to kill her. On the first read, you don't really catch it. I mean, you do, but you don't. Like, you're still thinking because she's still thinking, he's still trying. Like, you still have to get her.
Right.
But especially on the reread, you're going back and you're like, okay, he's had like several moments here where he could have done something, but it keeps helping her. And I think it's very interesting and telling about how Rebecca Yarros writes this, that you don't catch that on the first read. At least I didn't, and I'm actually very good at catching that stuff, so I'm a little disappointed in myself that I didn't. But I just think that goes towards like, the awesomeness of Rebecca and how she writes. But I mean, did you catch it the first time?
I think the first time I knew he wasn't going to kill her. Like, I mean, obviously they hadn't had threshing yet and hadn't had the bond and all that stuff. But I think at that point, I mean, obviously we don't know about the deal that he made with her mom yet until the second book. But I think, like, the one line he says where killing her is actually would be easy and keeping her alive is actually what tests him because it makes him ask himself every day if he can still be a decent person. Like, I think there's a
Very
part
telling.
of I think there's a part of Violet that like intrigues him even before the bond, even before we find out the reason why he hasn't killed her.
Right.
I think there's a part of him that's going, well, damn, like, she should be dead. She should be dead. She really should be dead, considering she should not have made it this far. But the fact that her grit and her stubbornness and her violence, I think, just intrigues him enough to where he's like, I'm going to keep her alive another day. All right, I'm going to keep her alive another day. All right, I'm going to keep her alive another day. But, like, the whole fight was interesting to me the first time because you're watching it and you're going, oh my God, he totally could kill her. Like, just stab her. Like, he knows she has the best. I think he knows. Not that she told him, but I think he just knows. But the fact that,
I mean, we know that he knows later.
yeah, really, but I just think the fact that he's like trying to teach her, even before the bond and he feels obligated to keep her alive, he's still trying to teach her. Like the whole, don't take this blow, take this blow. And then she's like, but that's a kill blow. I don't do kill blows. But he knows eventually she's going to have to. So,
Yeah.
just like, like the whole, I've known better poison masters. You can't just poison everyone you meet, just.
Okay, I have to talk about this.
That was hilarious.
How does she not think that no one will notice that every single opponent of hers gets sick?
I don't know. Maybe because it's different symptoms. Because she uses different ones, so it has different symptoms.
Yes,
So
but eventually, I mean, we all know she's smart, okay? She has the scribe brain. She's smart.
yeah,
And people, while they're not necessarily looking for it, they're going to eventually figure it out. Like, how does she not think that this isn't going to work long term? Like, which is kind of
I think
Dane's
she's just
point.
trying to get through the next fight. Like I don't think she's
Yeah.
thinking that far ahead. So
Well, I mean, going by her words, she didn't think she was going to make it past threshing, so there's
true.
that.
Well, she didn't think she was gonna make it past parapet. Then she didn't think she was gonna make it past assessment day. And then she didn't think she was gonna make it past her
Yeah.
first fight. So I mean, she's gaining more confidence as she's getting. So she is still
Yes.
fighting them. It's just the poison helps her with the little bit of weakness that they show. So.
So that one, she misjudges just a wee bit.
Well, yeah, I think
I
it's
mean,
hmm,
it's a stinker.
Zayden in that chapter just cracked me up because he could have just debilitated her at any point in that fight, and then
But
with
he
his
uses her temper against her.
he does, but she
Funny.
does get a couple licks on him. Like the one
He
time she
does.
knocks him on his back. Now, granted, it doesn't last very long, and the extra chapters that's from his point of view on this chapter
Mm-hmm.
is hilarious because he's just like she actually does surprise him
Funny.
at least once or twice. Like, okay, yeah, that's predictable. That's predictable. Oh, wait, she actually knocked me
Oh,
on my ass.
there it is.
Like, just the little like, oh, well, maybe she's not as predictable as you think she is. I think that's just fascinating. And then the parting shot to Dane when it was, hey, Dane, maybe she could use a little more instruction instead of cuddling, basically. Just,
Yeah, that doesn't happen. That's what. Oh, there's Ding. Oh, Ding. Oh. I found it interesting though, and she thinks this more than once, that Violet thinks that dragons wouldn't bond to a rider who's going to betray Navarre.
Yeah.
Which we know to be a falsehood because the one we know of is Bade. Bade bonds to Jack, who is already a Venom.
No, Jack
Yes.
is not. No,
Yes.
Jack does not become. No, because I read this in your summary. Jack does not become Venom until after Violet, or till after Cairn chooses Violet. That is what drove him to become a Venom. He was not a Venom before that point. That was the point where he decided to draw from the source and become Venom. Yes,
No.
it is. It said
He
so later
did it
on.
once before.
No, he didn't.
Because when he finally gets his challenge, and it was in one of the last chapters, in the last episode, when he finally gets his first challenge against Violet. It's his very first challenge. There is one sentence in there where she looks up and she sees glowing red eyes, and it's only for a moment. That is the first time he does it.
She doesn't fight Jack until after threshing.
No.
She doesn't fight Jack. She fights
This is
Orin.
why.
She fights Orin, and then she fights 2 or 3 other people, but she does not fight Jack until after threshing. Because Liam's already her bodyguard, remember?
This is why you don't listen beyond the chapters that you're doing because then you get confused.
No, but I'm saying like that's because remember she tells Liam, "Don't tell Xaden. I have to tell you this, but don't tell Xaden until it actually is." Because that's when she poisons him with the oranges. I don't know why she tells him that she poisoned him with the oranges, because then he would have just died. But you know, Jack just doesn't die.
I don't think he would have though, because at that point he pulled from the source.
I don't know if the source. I don't know if Venom can be. I don't know what the hell, because he was choking. I mean, he was dying with the orange peel, but no, he did not become Venom until after Taryn chose her because of his jealousy, because he wanted Taryn.
No, we know
that's when Jack's character is a real anomaly to me because you hate him. He's the worst character ever.
Unequivocally.
But he, at the same time, he pushes Violet in ways that she's never been pushed before and makes her realize she has to use that violence that's inside her, whether she wants to or not, just for survival. And I think that's what helps her cross that final. Well, I'll go into more of this the next set of chapters because that's when all the shit goes down. But Jack's character, I think, is essential to this story because if not, I don't know that she would have actually found her signet the way she did. I don't think she would have had the same signet, or I don't know if it would have presented the same way. But we can go into that.
I disagree with you on that. I think it would have. I don't want to get too much into this because we're not there yet. I think it would have presented the same way. It just would have presented at a different time. Because eventually she would have been put into a situation where one of their lives would have been threatened and it would have come out. And she actually did do her power before then.
I was about to correct myself because I was going to say, actually, she does. She shows the lightning before Jack. But it just, I don't know. There's.
You're absolutely right. I do agree with you. I think he is an integral part of this story, as much as we all hate Jack.
We don't want him to be. We don't want him to be.
But he is. You just can't kill the fucker. I'm just. Rebecca, are you ever gonna let him die? Like that is like my number one of the top of the day. Are you ever just gonna let him die?
Maybe.
I don't think we're ever gonna get answered that question until it may or may not have happened.
I think Garrick should have just taken Jack to the Barrens and left him in the cabinet to just desiccate.
You know what Jack is? Jack is the cockroach.
Yeah.
Jack is the cockroach that lives through the nuclear blast.
Sad, but true.
That state of affairs. So true.
But don't you wish Garrick would have just left him in the little closet thing and gone to the Barrens and just leave him there?
Yes, I do. But he didn't.
Oh well.
Anyway.
Okay. So chapter 10. So the gauntlet is what reminds me of, do you remember the show American Ninja Warrior?
Yes.
It's like maybe 10 years old, maybe. Anyway, but it's like, you think about it, like the ball things and the little walkway and the logs rolling and then the ramp at the end, like I wonder if that's where she got her inspiration for the gauntlet.
Maybe.
Just cut. I mean, it all makes sense.
It's an interesting description. And it all eventually makes sense. Like, the whole gauntlet makes sense, but it's still so horrible.
Anyway, the one interesting thing is, you kind of knew it was probably going around, especially with Jack Barlow, but the rumor of the fact that Violet and Dane were sleeping together so she could get privileges or whatever. And I love her thought at the time. She's like, can I at least get the benefits of, the of the rumor? I'm not getting any benefits out of here. There's something wrong with this situation. But just I mean, you kind of saw it coming because obviously Dane had been like on her, but
kind of hard to manage. Which is funny considering he's the one that's like, don't tell anybody. But
I'm gonna follow you and stick to you like glue.
I'm gonna be all up in your groove, but no one's gonna notice.
And escort you everywhere and leave, and nobody will pay attention.
Show up in places I shouldn't be, and no one's gonna notice.
My other question for you. How the fuck did Pryor make it all the way to presentation?
I had the same thought.
How? How does someone that indecisive?
Do you realize how little you hear about Pryor? Honestly, throughout the entire time that he's there, like, you literally hear of him maybe what 3 or 4 references, and it gets burned up.
Yeah, yeah. The most was this chapter. I mean, there was like one other one in the classroom when he was just like, "Do you have a question?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Do I have? Yep. No. Yeah.
I don't
No."
know, maybe. Huh?
And Luke at that point was just like, "Dude, ask a fucking question or just stop. Just make a decision."
That's for him because you're just like, okay, dude, just don't, just stop, just stop. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm sitting there reading it and I'm just like, how the fuck did Pryor even make it through the gauntlet? Like, how did you make a decision to actually just do it? Like, maybe we should walk faster. I don't know. Should we leave? Should we go? Should we stay? Should we walk? Should we go? What? I'm surprised the
I
dragons
have
didn't
to
burn him
say,
up faster.
I know. I just didn't burn him up the first time he went through. I mean, but he didn't say anything probably. So, although I cannot be the only one who cheered when Luke was first, I cannot be the only one. I literally
No.
cheered out loud the first time on the first week. It said
Yeah.
that, and I went, "Wow."
Yeah. Just, yeah. And
Just a little bit.
the other thing is okay, there were two things. One was her comparison of Dane and Zayden at the one point when they were talking about Tynan and the rumor, and
Mhm.
she thinks to herself Dane would assign him like cleanup duty for a month, but then Zayden would probably beat him up. Like,
Definitely.
just the comparison, and it's like, yep, total facts, total facts. Like Dane,
Total
mean,
facts.
obviously we know Dane knows how to fight. He's a squad leader and he's the second year.
Clearly.
But just, mm.
I mean, he does become weaklier too, so he's not stupid. This is what gets me about Dane. Like, he's not dumb. He's not an idiot. He's not even necessarily a bad guy. He's
Yeah.
just completely wrong for Violet. He needs
Yeah.
a dwindling damsel in distress. That's what he needs. That's the type of, I mean, although I don't know how him and Sloane figure into that
Listen,
whole
that's
meeting
funny
of damsel
because-
in distress.
I mean, the only reason
Maybe we're
Dane
wrong on
only
that
reason-
foreshadowing, but
No, I don't think so. I think the only reason you could consider Sloane a damsel in distress is just to do with her signet, because she's afraid to use it.
I mean, there is that. There you go. See, that's the whole thing where he helps pull her out of that. He
I
needs
mean,
somebody
he
who has
does.
issues, okay? He
Yeah, like,
can't
as
have
Rihanna-
somebody who's fine.
As Rhiannon puts it, he's the boy next door who will kick your ass at the same time. I don't know. But yeah, I think he does. He has to have a damsel in distress. That trope, like, it's just, he has to be able
Do
to
you
save.
see Riddick and Rhiannon getting together eventually?
No.
Really? I do.
No. No, I don't see Riddick settling with anyone, because Riddick goes back and forth. He's not girl or guy. He's bi.
He
He's
is,
bi.
but he's also a huge slut. But I think that's because one of two things. Either he seriously has not found anyone, or he has found someone and he just is avoiding it because he doesn't want to do anything. And I'm wondering if that's Rhiannon.
No.
I just am.
No. I think
can
Riddick's
see
gonna
it.
end up with like a scribe or a healer. Like, I don't see him with another writer. I just don't. Just because I think he has to have that, just from his comic relief and everything. I think he has to have that separation. Like, he can fuck a writer. He doesn't really fucking care about that. But I think
Totally.
in order to like have a relationship, I think he needs like the separation. Because I mean, he's the one that makes all the comments all the time. Let's get a little incestuous in here and blah blah blah. Like, he wants to expand because he's probably pretty much slept with
yeah.
everybody in the wing. So yeah, there's that. He is a slut. Well, Riddick, but he is.
He's a man whore, but you know what? He's a hot, funny one, so you can play
Oh
with
my
it.
gosh. Okay.
Can't wait to see who's gonna play him.
The other thing that kind of cracked me up, because it's almost foreshadowing for the Irids, is when she's in the gauntlet and she's running through and she's doing her little fact things in her head. And she does the whole feather tales of poor violence, which she's talking about Andarna, like the baby dragons in the Vale. She's talking about them.
Oh.
But the funny part is the Irids really do abhor violence.
They're
And they're all
feather tails.
feather tails. Like it's just,
On the
You
record.
did. You did. Like, I mean,
That foreshadowing on the reread that you're absolutely right. All of the ears are because they were abhorrent of the fact that she chose a
chose a
different
tail.
tail.
Yes, that she didn't have a feather tail. Now,
Sorry,
the
guys, we're
one
getting ahead of ourselves, but I totally
no,
missed that.
but I think it comes into like effect because it's like it's a foreshadowing. It's the foreshadowing of the feather tails. But if you're reading it the first time, you're just thinking, oh, it's like okay, we don't
Oh,
even know what the feather tails are, and then we see Andarna with a feather tail, and we're like, okay, and then the whole time stopping thing happens, and then you're like, oh, they're just baby dragons. So the feather tails are all baby dragons, and you're like, and then you get to the ear part, and you're like, holy shit.
so here's a question: Do you think? Do you think her dad knew that about the Irids, or do you think he thought they were babies?
I, I think her dad knew more of the possibility of the Irids. Like I think
Hmm.
he was trying to find more of that because I mean we know from the third book he went to all the islands because he had like facts about every island. So
Well, that's true, but they're invisible, so he wouldn't have seen them.
no, but the legends would see, and this is the thing that gets me. Okay, so obviously the histories have all been rewritten to take out the Venom and the Wyvern.
Hmm.
So then the histories were rewritten to take out the Irids because nobody knows about the Irids. And it was only 650 years ago that they took out the. So it's like nobody
There's.
had a reference to any because there was still like obviously there was something in the second Croblin uprising that her dad was
Hmm.
researching it and gave her the book of fables with the note written in it like so he knew about the wyvern and the venom but still nothing about the irids.
I think there are mentions and comments, and just by that little fact that I missed that you caught, I'm definitely gonna pay closer attention on my next reread of this as we're going through this. But I think there are more mentions about Irids, but I don't think they know that they're talking about Irids. Just like the whole Feathertail thing of they abhor violence.
Yeah.
I think there's plenty of comments, and I think there's plenty of notations in the histories and things. They just don't know what they're reading.
You think? Maybe.
There
It's
has to
just
be
weird
because
that there's nothing about Feathertails other than her dad's research.
I wonder if that's part of their gifts. Like, we don't know a whole lot about the Irids at this point. We know they have special
No.
talents. We know they have special gifts. But I wonder if that's part of their specialty and their breed is something about like memory changing or something to do with that, because it doesn't make sense that an entire, just like you said, it's only been 650 years, so it doesn't make sense that an entire race of dragons
Well, and there's
that
nothing in the
nobody knows
journals.
about,
There's nothing in the journals from working because those were 600 years ago, like when the whole thing first
they've
started.
been
There's
highly redacted. But
no,
keep in
no,
mind, hold on, keep in mind when we meet the Irids, they also do admit that they are a highly secretive race. So by that, I would almost think that not a lot, even when they lived in the Vale, I don't think a lot was known about them in the first place.
right, but obviously the Warwick and Luna, was it Luna? What was the
I think
other
so.
name? They knew about the Irids because the seventh dragon, had to have a thing. So, but there's no other mention of them in the journal. So they did not. Did they know that the Irids were going to disappear? Did they not know the Irids were going to disappear? Like, it's weird. But anyway, I know we're getting off track, but I just think it's weird that there is nothing referenced about the Irids in any histories other than you need them for the Wordstone. But even that wasn't
Sure.
even technically said. It was just seven breeds of dragon. Wait, there aren't seven breeds of dragons. Oh, yes, there is.
Oh, but there is.
It's just,
Sorry, we're getting ahead of ourselves, guys. But this is interesting topic because I'm very, very upset with myself right now. I'm a little disappointed that
Because
I
something
missed that.
you
You know
did.
what? Guys, that's
I
not fair.
can't
That's not fair.
nothing.
How many of you missed it? I want to know. I want to know. How many of you caught it and how many of you missed it? Are you on Team Leslie or Team Caroline? Because I need to know. Inquiring minds want to know. So,
Yeah. So, no, just.
so, chapter 11 is the first time we really see Xaden doing something not quite above board, suspicious, but it's kind of glossed over, so you're just like, well, maybe they're on a flight thing, or maybe they were doing something, but like, I
They were
noticed it on
delivering
the,
daggers. They were delivering daggers.
we don't know that yet. Oh, but it's kind of interesting that it's there, but it's not. Like, it's a very subtle way of just kind of throwing that
It's in the
there.
open, but it's not because they don't really know what they're
Yeah.
doing. Yeah, I think they were subtle about it, but I mean, even Zayden says at the end, like, they've known that he was up to something. They just couldn't pin down what.
What it was. Yeah. Well, they suspect him anyway because, relic. So they all must be bad.
The marked ones are bad.
The marked ones. They're all bad.
Yeah, no.
I don't know. So that was kind of the end of the summary and going over the chapters. We were going to go into the quadrants and the wings, and Leslie was going to do a breakdown of that. So take it away.
Okay, so we have 4 quadrants. I mean, we've kind of heard about them a little bit. So we have the healers, which are the ones that mend people, well, not mend, because menders are dragon riders, but they give the potions and do like the normal doctor stuff, like without magic. They're very good at potions and tonics, which we learned from Violet, which is like, I can not, yeah, no, just that part was hilarious. Anyway, not really much known, like, is really said much about the healers, other than they they're your nurses and your doctors. So, then you have your scribes, who quote unquote faithfully write the history of Navarre. We know Violet's dad was a scribe, and that she was planning on being a scribe, but then her mom went, nope, you're gonna be a writer. You're gonna be a writer. So
more on that later.
Yeah, but their main thing to do is they transcribe from like the dead languages that aren't spoken anymore, and they keep all the records. One thing to note about Gaiath War College is the best library in Navarre. Not the best library in the continent, obviously. We know that later. But it's the best library in Navarre. I like the scribes. At least Justinia. Justinia is my favorite, obviously. We know why. But
Poor Justinia.
I feel like the scribes kind of get a bad rap just from the higher ups, like Markham and all that. I don't think they're necessarily bad. I think they just do what they're told. I think it's the higher ups that are the main cause of the issue, but I don't know. I feel like the scribes get a bad rap in the course of the story.
I agree with that assessment.
Then we have the infantry, which is basically your common foot soldier. Basically dragon fodder, griffin fodder, like they're just on the ground and they don't really do much. They are in the outposts with the riders, usually. They have a more relaxed environment in their schooling than riders. They get a break, they get to go camping, they They get to go out on the weekends. Like things are a little more chill in the infantry.
It's the
Um,
leisurely quadrant.
Death rate's not as high. And they're great at land navigation. Now, it does have the highest death toll in battle, obviously, because they're on the ground and most of the stuff is
Yeah.
up in the air. So there's that. So the schooling you're good. Once you get out in the real world, not so much. One thing to note is Zayden's father was infantry,
That's true.
and that's where he wanted Zayden to go.
He
Obviously,
was not
that
a
didn't
writer.
work out. That didn't work out. Um, and then the other one we have is the Writer's Quadrant, which obviously we know the most about because that's where the story takes place. Definitely the most dangerous, highest death rate in training. Um,
Mhm.
Most die on conscription day with the parapet. Next highest is the gauntlets and then threshing. Once threshing happens, the highest danger is the dragon because the dragon can kill you, or if your dragon
Someone
dies,
else's.
or if your dragon dies, then you die. So there's that.
Poor
Um,
Liam.
I still think that's weird though. If you die, or if your dragon dies, you die. But if you die, your
The
dragon
dragon does not die.
could die, but not
Most will choose to live.
necessarily. Yeah, it has to be a very strong bond for them to die.
Hmm.
I think of dragon riders as like Navy pilots. Like they're the swagger of the whole military environment. Like they're swinging there, you know, like I'm the biggest baddest shit. But other than
Well, they're
that,
swinging their weight around.
yeah. So I mean, there's
Hmm.
that's the four quadrants that we have. Like I said, we learn a little bit more about the scribes just from Justinia's point of view and dealing with the Viscayas War College. The infantry we kind of learn a little bit about with land nav, but the healers are the ones like you don't really know much about at all. Just because you basically if you go in there you're almost dead. I do feel bad for the healers when the Venom basically attack and take over and yeah, that sucks. The other thing I was going to talk about were the dragons. So obviously we have threshing. So I was going to kind of go over like a few of the colors of dragons and kind of what their temperaments are. So we have the green dragons, which are very intelligent. They're the most rational, and they're perfect siege weapons, especially in the clubtails. A couple writers that have green dragons are Mira and Rhiannon. Good people. So we're like, all right, good people get chosen by green dragons, right? Yeah,
True.
hopefully. Then you have your orange dragons, which are the most unpredictable and the most temperamental. And in my opinion, seems to choose or bond the most morally gray bad people. Varish, Jack.
I'd agree with that
Um,
assessment.
the big question is, there's two that have orange dragons. Brennan and Imogen.
Not all orange dragons are bad, though. They're just a
But
little
then
reckless. But look at Brennan. Brennan is very reckless.
there's
And so is
still
Imogen.
there's still rumors that Brennan is not gonna be good.
That it, no, no, no. We are gonna shut that down right now. That is not happening, and he is not bad. That is all bullshit. I call bullshit.
There's like the rumor. I mean, and it's not coming from Rebecca or anybody like that. It's just the fandom. But that Brennan
Mm-mm.
is the one that's gonna be the big betrayer.
No, I don't think so. I think they're searching for somebody, and Brennan's an easy target. And no, I don't think that's gonna happen because he would have done it already. He would have
Maybe
done it already.
maybe he hasn't
It would
been.
have been a lot easier to betray before the damn wards were up.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know.
Mm-mm.
I don't
No.
know.
It doesn't make any sense. We're gonna get into this more. Let's not get sidetracked. But no,
Not
it
getting
doesn't make
sidetracked, like
any sense.
it's related to this because
But
it's very interesting to me that the two other main characters are Varish and Jack Barlow, and neither one of those are good people.
no, but Imogen's a good person.
Is she? Because she wipes Violet's memory at the end of the third book, so there's that.
She has her
I mean,
issues.
and
So she does. But, I mean, oranges tend to bond to reckless people because they're more of a reckless personality. Although, do you find it interesting that the humans consider their tail? They don't consider their breed by their color, which is what they
hmm
actually are because we find out later they can choose their tail.
hmm
They govern by color, not by their tail, but the humans think like their breeds are their tails. I
I
just find
think
that funny.
I don't know if it's because of like Kaori's research and like certain tails have certain temperaments or certain advantages over not. I mean, you have the scorpion tail, you have the dagger tail, you have I mean, there's like 4 or 5 different tails. Obviously, the Morning Star's the best, but
Could be because certain personalities more likely tend to choose a certain tail, so they think
but
that
can
they're
you
a breed.
but can you say that because Bait is a scorpion tail? Granted, it's orange, but so is Endarna.
Yeah, I don't know why she would choose a scorpion
Endarna
tail.
chose a scorpion tail.
I thought for sure she would choose a Morningstar tail because of Terrence.
I did too, but
I mean, she kind of so black. Okay, we're getting off track again.
anyway, okay. So the next dragon is the red dragon. They have the worst tempers, and
Mm.
you never want to look one in the eye, just because they will roast you. They will
They're a little
poof you
temperamental.
little bit. Big ones, big characters that have red dragons. Liam, Dane, and then Sawyer gets a red dragon.
Do you find it interesting that Liam, of all people, would have a red dragon?
No, because I think Liam is. I think he has a bigger temper than. I think he just hides it very well. I think.
I mean, if anything, like his sister, yeah.
But I mean, I think he's more open than Zayden, but I think he still has that same caution and the same wariness
Temper
that
and
Zayden
yeah.
had just from being raised together, but also, going
What
through
happened
it.
to
But he
them?
just happens to be strong and very good at what he does. And so, anyway, the next one is the brown dragon. You do not want to show fear to a brown dragon, but they are very stable. Like they're not temperamental or anything like that. They're just kind of steady. So main characters that have them are Riddick, General Sorengale, Garrick, which you don't really find out Garrick's dragon until the third book. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
why, but you really don't hear much about Garrick until then. And then Soleil, which R.I.P. Soleil. We'll get into that more. So the next one is blue dragons. They are the second largest dragon. Very ruthless, not approachable. Do not approach unless they approach you.
Did not approach a blue.
Obviously, the most famous one we have is Zayden, with Sigale, but Auric also has a blue, which I think is interesting. So Zayden and Auric are the two that the only two that we know of that have blues. I like the blues. I think just they're like cunning like black, but they are ruthless to a fault. Like they could give a fuck less what you think. They're gonna do what they want, and that's it. Like just
Insert Sigale.
pretty much, yeah. I still want more for Sigale. I really do. Just gonna put it out there. I'm gonna put it out there, like, to her thing. Like, we need a prequel of Zayden in his first 2 years. Just
I'd
that's
agree.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Last one is the Black Dragon. Um, he is the most intelligent, cunning, and discerning. They are also the most powerful, and they're very rare. Like, there aren't that many black dragons to begin with. There's really only two in this story, which is Violet and General Melgarn's dragons.
Creepy Melgren.
Mm. Yeah, like, how do you get Taryn and Coda? Like, they're the
I
same breed.
I don't think Coda is bad though. I don't. As creepy as Melgren comes off to me,
Yeah.
Coda just doesn't. I don't know why. Like that sounds really weird to say, but especially in Iron Flame when she comes up to him, she's like, "I hope you don't roast me, but I need to talk to you."
Right. I need you to do this. No, yeah, when she flat up walks in and Zayden's like, are you crazy?
Are you
Are you
trying?
trying to die? Like, what the hell are you doing? And she's just like, I need you to be here when we get this done. Now,
You're the only other
obviously,
black that I know of, and
right?
Taryn's not even used.
It's not even used, so yeah, we need you. Because
Please,
I
and don't kill me.
I still love Zane's right. He's like, we already have a black dragon. We have Andarna.
No. So about that.
About that. That's yeah. No,
I mean,
that's so technically
yeah.
they have the golden dragons, but we obviously know now that golden dragons are babies, which
Babies.
again still irritates me the fact that we've been dealing with dragons for 600 years. Now, granted, I know humans aren't allowed in the Vale and babies are not like out
Babies
of the
aren't
Vale
allowed out of the
ever.
veil.
But how does no one know that a golden feathertail is a baby? Like, it's
Because
never
it's
happened before.
but no, okay, that's where I'm gonna stop you. I think it has happened before in instances maybe not exactly like this, but where other writers have found out. But in this case, Taryn's like, you can't tell anyone, so they don't. You can't tell me there
Really?
hasn't been other situations where they haven't, but they've been persuaded to not say anything.
I was gonna say, because there's been other mated pairs. Like, Coda's mated with, I can't remember the other dragon that they're mated to,
Really?
but yeah, Coda's mated to, oh crap, I can't remember whose dragon it is. But they talk about how they communicate over the distance in the battle in the second book.
And the longer they're mated,
Yeah, the
the
longer
farther
they're
they
so
can.
I mean, you've had mated pairs who've had babies. So like it's just
But they wouldn't talk about
nobody
it.
nobody knows like of all the people that have seen presentation day or whatever and all the higher ups that were there at
Not because
Thrashing
the Empyrean dragons won't allow
boggles
it.
my mind. It boggles
Okay,
my mind.
I have a question for you.
What?
Very serious. Are you ready? What dragon would you have?
My first reaction is a blue. It is like my first reaction is a blue. What about you?
I could see myself with a green.
Hmm. You probably need a friggin' green just to keep you calm.
Either a green or a red. I can see myself with a green or a
See you
red.
more with a red. I see you more with a red just because you're higher
I want to
energy.
say, black. Honestly, what comes to mind is an orange, but I just can't get behind that. So,
What? Because it's Jack and Varish? See? See? See?
oh, it just, yeah.
Oh. I don't know.
But
Like part of me.
honestly,
Go ahead.
no, I would think a green for me just because you need that balance. Like you need a dragon who can understand and deal with your personality, but someone who can also offset you. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know because I feel like Ree is very calm and like with especially that last the scene that in the chapter that's from her point of view with her and her conversation with Fierge, like they're both very
Mm.
calm. I see you more with a red just because of your high energy, not necessarily that you're goofy or anything. Just you have very high energy. Like I could see, I would want a blue just because
I don't see you with a
they're
blue.
ruthless, but it'd probably be more like a brown or a green.
I could see you more with a green.
I'd
I
probably go more
could.
green,
Because
but
you're
I'd
more of a
want a
mellow.
blue.
I would want a black, but I don't see myself with a black, so
I don't know,
just because I like the big dragons. But
right?
me, I would honestly, thinking about it more in depth, it would be probably a red or an orange for me, just because I do tend to be a little reckless and I do have higher energies. So,
No, reckless never.
all right, shocker. Super mellow, y'all. Super mellow. Okay, maybe not. But you love
Hmm. Oh my
me.
gosh.
Oh my goodness. All right, y'all. Well, that is all we have for right now. Next episode, we will be doing chapters 17 through 24. Lot happens, y'all. Lot happens.
Yeah.
Things are about to go down. So, bear with
Things are about to get a little spicy
us.
and then more intense.
Oh, oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'm sorry.
You're a dork.
Yeah. Right. Do keep in mind that we are a little bitty baby podcast. So if you did enjoy what you heard, maybe if you didn't, um, do us a solid. Just hit that like and subscribe button. Share us with your friends. Tell us about it, especially if you like Fourth Wing, because there'll be a lot more content to go over. I know we get a little off topic, so I do apologize for that, but we're
We are.
fine. Well, at least we think we are.
And it's not what anybody hasn't thought before.
That's true. That's true. All right, guys. So we will see you next week and look for that video to drop.
Bye.
Bye.